Before we begin, I want to offer a gentle warning. This episode contains discussions of childhood trauma and sexual abuse. If these topics are difficult for you, please take care of yourself. Step away if needed, listen with support, or skip this episode if it's not the right time. You are not alone, and your well being matters. Welcome to Shards, a spiritual journey in pieces. Shards, fragments, pieces of something that once felt whole. Some we hold on to, some we try to forget, and some we don't even realize are there until the light catches them just right, revealing something we hadn't seen before. This journey, mine, yours, is made up of these shards of faith and doubt, of love and loss, of the stories we were given and the truths we uncover along the way. This is a space for those pieces, a space to turn them over in our hands, to feel their edges, to find what they might still have to teach us. Today's episode begins with a night that changed everything for me, and not in a way that I was expecting it. Hello, this is David. I just wanted to introduce myself to you in this first episode and let you know what I'm thinking and kind of what started this idea for me to start the podcast. I'm really troubled by the way religion has played itself out, and in my opinion, actually worn itself out here in our country. And I'm willing to talk about this in a way because I don't know what the answers are. So this first shard that I'm going to share with you today is really what started me seeing my life and my spiritual journey in shards. I had always seen it as chapters or transitions, and that seems really beautiful and that seems really poetic. But now I see it as shards. And let me tell you why. Election night, November 2024. I'm sure you have a memory of that night. Well, the weeks leading up towards that night, I was growing more and more anxious, and I had projected all of my anxiety onto this coming election, onto how can I support my candidate, my views, my side, my heart. And I, each and every day, got more and more and more invested, more and more and more tense, more and more and more anxious, more and more and more fearful. So I was scared. Deeply, deeply scared, like I had never been before. And all of this was being projected to the outside world. In fact, my husband and I convinced him that we needed a whole house generator for the pending civil unrest. And we got one, and it was installed, and it was ready just in time for the election. We had friends over that night. We were hoping to celebrate. My husband had made his world-famous chili, which is super spicy, and people that don't eat spicy, they make themselves eat it, and they sweat, and their eyes get red, and they and they swear they'll never do it again, but they love the flavor. So that's the night we're having. We're watching the results come in. And then when it becomes pretty clear that This is going to be a long night, and eventually our guest, who had all brought their dogs, we all had a dog, and I was still growing anxious, and I just felt it was because of where we were, what we were doing, how things were looking. So our friends left, they took their pups, and then that night we went to bed, and I did keep, um, every once in a while looking at results and seeing what was happening. But eventually I fell asleep, and something happened to me that night that had never happened to me before. Because that night, it was as if my skin was turned inside out. It was as if my brain became liquefied. The next morning, I woke up really vivid, traumatic memories from childhood, um, memories of childhood sexual abuse. And I was paralyzed. It's impossible to describe. So rather than pausing for words, let's move on. I knew I had to take the dogs to the groomers. That was on the calendar that day. I put them in the car, got to the groomers, got them safely in the back. As soon as that was done, it all came back. I called my family immediately, my family in Georgia. My sister answered, and I just announced to her, I have to tell you something. And I told her. She believed me. She said, you do whatever you have to do. And my brother and sister were amazing. They heard me, they listened to me, they supported me. They wanted to, even in ways, support me, and by sharing things that they remembered that would support that. And then we kind of got into this without saying anything, even though we were all adults now. Like, why didn't we talk about this so that this might not have happened? My dad said he believed me. He thought it was true, but that he would have taken that to his grave. And I simply said, well, that's where it was headed. And fast forward, I get back home and I'd pack a bag, and I'm going to go check myself into some sort of behavioral health psych unit just for evaluation, because I'm not feeling like anything I've ever felt before. And I don't know, there's a question about how I'm going to get through it without medical and 24-hour supervision. I've packed my bag and I go to Jason to tell him what I'm planning. And he's very concerned. He sits down with me at our dining room table and says, do whatever you need to do. And so I did. And that's the shard that I will talk about today. I thank you for listening. But this was the shard that broke open everything for me. And maybe, I don't know, maybe you had a moment similar to that in your life, when something you buried or you thought wasn't ever going to come up came roaring to the surface, and you had no choice but to let it rise and be seen and witnessed. One of the main reasons this was so significant to me is because I have dealt with and comforted people who speak of triggers and past trauma, and I had no idea. So as a chaplain, I think, as a caregiver, I think this was an experience that's going to make me empathize more. And I also think that it really goes to show just how experiences in our lives shape how we see the world. And everybody that knows me, they would tell you that I am definitely a Pollyanna. I am someone who, if you're not willing to see the silver lining, then probably the conversation's not going to last very long. But there's nothing like the experience that I had on the night of the election to let me know that that mask, that Pollyanna mask, that pretend, or not even pretend, because I believe it and I believed it, but it's almost as if when you really feel that, you really feel that suffering, that disconnection from who you are, that literally a disconnection from God, I think, a disconnection from self, you start to see things differently. And I just wanted to share that. And I appreciate you listening as long as you have. I am not a podcast maker. I have ordered a microphone. It's supposed to come tonight. And I'm going to just keep doing this and see if it'll maybe stir something up in us. And let me give you some things to think about, some reflections. Here are a few things to sit with after listening to this part of my story. When has the world outside cracked something open in you? And who would you call if you needed to speak that truth to someone? May we be brave enough to hold our truths, gentle enough to name our pain, and strong enough to keep walking piece by piece towards something whole. Thanks for being here. Every shard matters. Let's keep building the mosaic one piece at a time. Next time, I'll share the shard of how I'm doing now, how I bounced back from that night, and what healing, spiritual awakenings, and what I have in store for me in the coming weeks. A wonderful opportunity for healing and restoration that I can't wait to share with you. Please tune in next time for Shards, a spiritual journey in pieces.